Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fish Tank. We've got some gameplay today. We're going to look at some shrooms. Now, last season was Shroom season by name, but this season is definitely Shroom season by meta. And we're talking about Shroomama Shumi. If you've played any this season, solos, duos, whatever, you've probably come across some Shroom decks. Shroomama Shumi, of course, is the big shroom that splits when it receives a positive buff. So something like a spirit, a shield, a growth burst, giant growth buff, anything like that, rage, berserker rage, and then they keep splitting. Now we have had a hotfix recently which did reduce the starting health by 50, but they still seem kind of OP, and I thought it would be remiss to go through this season without having a look at them. Now don't yell at me, I wasn't playing this deck, but it was randoms and my teammate was, so let's get in and see what happened. Okay, here we go. 2v2 randoms. I've started playing KP a bit, kind of enjoying it, adjusted it a little bit. My teammate is playing Mordar. His deck is the bottom left deck. And we're against Apep and Ratbo. Now we can see straight away that my teammate does have the Shroomama Shumi in his deck. And, of course, the reason you play it with Mordar is, even if you res one of the tiny shrooms after you've split it a ton of times, it still reses as the full fat version. Right, so kind of an awkward start for us. So the first shroom comes out, there's the split. And the next split, the first split was from the shield, the second from the rage. Now, of course, he is wildcarding them, and I feel like that's one of the problems that makes them OP, is that people tend to have a lot of counters for them, but they don't have enough counters to deal with the wildcarded, the second one. They just outcycle your counters. So I've been enjoying playing King Path, a little bit out of sorts with the bridge changes, sorry, the bridge splits. I haven't played King Path too much recently, but it was just like putting on a favourite suit, just like riding a bike. Okay, so an awkward start here. Teammate's tombstone gets shut down. We're going to start taking some face damage as well. That troubadour's pretty healthy. And of course, all this time the bridges are red, so we're losing XP hand over fist at the moment, long way behind. Now I am playing Azali, and the shields could potentially help my teammate by triggering the split. Not a great breath there. Right, so that splits on the shroom, so the initial unit gets buffed and then it splits from that. They're not going to trade well against the golem though, so I need to try to help my teammate out where possible. Take some fights that are going to be preferable for him. The Kinlap is a good counter to that poison stacking on everything. Right, we've got a split from the Spirit Mancer. Tombstone does get shredded. And we are in a bad spot so far. You know, we've taken a lot of face damage and we're a long way behind on XP. Cleaver's going to start clearing everything up at the bottom there. Not entirely sure what that bridge switch was about. I'm sure there was a genius plan behind it somewhere. We have taken a lot of face damage as well. We really have to be careful with these cleavers. We can't really be tanking them too much on face. And the shrooms do not trade well against the cleavers for sure. But the shields help. More shields from Azali, I think, this time. Getting some extra splits. And this seems like the first positive sort of push that we've seen from the shrooms. I think maybe another one res there. And they kind of just spiral out of control. What do the opponents have? Those brothers at the top looking a little bit out of sorts. We do have to defend it carefully though, because we don't have too much HP left. More splits, more shrooms. They need AoE to deal with this. They don't really have that. And this is what can happen with these decks, is that you look like you're just having a bad time, then you get one reasonable interaction, some good splits, maybe a good res, and then they just kind of spiral out of control. And suddenly we've gone from being down and out to doing like 2,500 damage to their face. And of course this cycle's just going to keep repeating. Next shrooms are out. Going to try to be splitting them. We have caught up on XP a lot, but we're still a long way down, so our win condition is probably killing them before they get to Mana Frenzy. Assuming we can survive that long. Because that's a healthy statue pushing at the bottom. We're going to have to try to deal with that somehow. With very low HP as well. 380 HP. Going to do our best. Vortex doing a great job keeping that statue off of face. Looks like it's going to get maybe one hit in here. Okay. 241 HP left. We're still a long way down on XP, so the opponents know they just need to get to Mana Frenzy and they're going to be able to close the game out. But can they get there? It's a lot of damage coming out from those shrooms. Remember, they all have rage, so they are doing a decent amount of damage. We are at perk 3 now, so we are able to get these night puffs. This is a really good push. We've had some more good reses, and this is just going to be too much. They don't have the AoE to deal with this. And this is what happens with cards like this when they start defining the meta. You either get people playing them, or if you want to be successful against them, you have to play something quite specific. A lot of AoE required. And there we go. That's the power of the shrooms. We were behind for a lot of the game, and then somehow just got a couple of good pushes, and that was it. What do you guys feel about the shrooms? Obviously, they're still too strong. Are you enjoying using them? Because, you know, that's what happens when we have a strong card. The reason that the meta gets defined by them is people flock to use them. People want to get easy wins. So are you using it? But also, more importantly, what good ways have you found to counter it? We see a lot of Fergus out there. Fergus does a good job countering it. Flame Imp's good. Anything AoE, air units. But of course, we're talking, as I mentioned before, if you're having to run these specific counters to deal with a specific threat, which may or may not be what your opponents are playing. So it's definitely been an experience. I'm expecting to see maybe another nerf. I think if they remove the wild cards, that might do enough. But even in solos, it's a really, really strong card. So hopefully it'll get nerfed at some point. But of course, it's really difficult, especially with this kind of card design. It's really difficult to get it into a healthy spot. It's likely to either just be a dead card that no one plays, or disgustingly OP that everyone plays. It's really hard to balance something like this because of just the way that just the small changes just scale up so much with the way that the splits work. But anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. I've been having a lot of fun in randoms, as always. Hopefully you have too. Let me know in the comments. I don't know. Let me know how your day is. I'm Fish, and I'll see you again soon here in the fish tank.